Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Mill. This is the third episode of our revival series. So excited to be back. We are in the month of May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month, a very important month. And we have an incredible speaker joining us today to talk through questions, insights, share learnings, and also talk about best practices for ways that we can all make our mental health a focus today.
Today, we are very happy to welcome our guest, Alyson Watson, who is the founder and CEO of Modern Health, which is a mental health benefits platform for employers. Founded in 2017, Modern Health's mission is to improve the lives of people in their communities by offering an inclusive mental health solution that drives the best outcomes, is the most cost-effective, and is the most engaging. They focus on making mental health care simple, standardized, and equitable. So, Alyson, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me. Super excited to be here today. And yeah, super excited to share a little bit more about modern health and talk about mental health more broadly.
Fun fact,
Great.
Alyson and I were college roommates at Johns Hopkins University, and we were both Division I lacrosse players. So if anyone understands mental and physical strain, it's the two of us.
Maybe we should just talk about memories we have from being roommates, or actually probably not. I don't think anyone would want to hear about.
I did have Easy Mac for the first time freshman year in that dorm. I'd never had it before, and I remember calling my parents and being like, "Did you know about this?" And they're like, "Yeah, we just, and I was like appalled that they had kept this secret from me forever. So anyways, that's the one I'll share for
Good stuff.
for our PG
Good
listeners.
Stuff. We won't talk about the time that we had to wear like all neon, and I think I went to class the next morning in my neon outfit because I'm pretty sure
Always the first two rows though, right, Al?
Always.
So, I guess if we just want to dive a little bit more into Modern Health and your specific role at Modern Health, and just kind of give us a little bit of background on how Modern Health is different from similar organizations or any differentiating factors.
Yeah, happy to jump into that. So, at a high level, Modern Health is a mental health company that works with employers. So, we work with other companies to make it easy for their employees to get access to mental health resources. And that's everything from therapy to coaching to digital content like meditation. For anyone out there who enjoys listening to meditations, we have an entire meditation library. Actually, fun fact, we partner with Naomi Osaka. She's our chief community health advocate. For those who are not familiar, she is a professional tennis player. She was previously ranked number one in the world. And she recorded some pretty awesome meditations for us. And she's also pregnant and just recorded meditations for kids for us as well, which we've actually made available to the public. But all of this is available through a really easy and accessible mobile app and through the desktop web as well. So we partner with companies, and then their employees get access through this app, and through this app they get access to all these different services that I mentioned. And one of the big differentiators for us is the way in which we approach what we call a stepped care model with mental health. So when people think about mental health, traditionally they think about people in what we call the red zone, right? People who are dealing with more clinical issues. And typically we triage those people to therapists. But the reality is we all have mental health, right? Whether you're in what we call the green zone or the yellow zone or the red zone, we all have mental health, and it ebbs and flows during different points in our life, whether you just had a child like I just did and struggled with mental health myself, or whether you're starting a new job, or whether you're going to college or leaving your family for the first time, whatever it may be, we all struggle with mental health in some way or another. And so the whole idea behind Modern Health is how can we have one singular platform, one front door that everyone can go to, and we'll get you to the right level of care. So we triage you to whether that's a therapist or a coach or meditation or digital courses or group sessions that we call circles. So it's really that there's no one size fits all, but I think a good analogy that we often think about is like the green, yellow, red, right? It ebbs and flows, and everyone has mental health. And that's really kind of the core ethos behind Modern Health. So getting everyone to proactively engage in their mental health, regardless of where they fall on that spectrum.
Could you touch a little bit more about on what equity in mental health care means to you and what we can do to further try to achieve this?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think first and foremost is access, no matter where you are, who you are, where you live, who you work for, is making sure that everyone has an equitable access to mental health support. And so one of the key tenets of what we've built is a global solution. So oftentimes when you're working with US based employers, they will get they'll roll out different benefits for their US employees, and they'll have different benefits for their employees outside the US. And that's typically because most healthcare solutions don't have a network outside the US. So we've built a global network of providers that live all over the world. We have providers in over 50 countries speaking over 50 languages. And so employees can get connected to someone wherever they live, no matter where they are, all around the world, and make sure that they can get connected to someone who speaks their language, who has a similar background to them, who feels relatable to them, right? When we get connected to someone for support, that's typically really important to us, to make sure that we're talking to someone who is culturally aware and culturally sensitive to the things that we might be going through in our lives. And so that's really important to making sure that people ultimately, one, engage, and then two, see the outcomes that we're hoping to see as it relates to improving their mental health. So making sure that a solution is really personalized and not just a cookie cutter solution that fits one type of person or one type of persona, but really something that supports the masses and really meets everyone where they are. That ultimately is going to drive much better outcomes and create for a much more equitable experience as it relates to someone engaging in their mental health.
What's so great about that, Alyson, is even as someone who has been in therapy, been out for a few years, and wants to go back, I have had the most challenging time finding someone to go to, mostly because everyone I have contacted is like, I'm booked out,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And then I'm struggling with, I own my own business. So I'm like, well, how do I then branch out of network? And, I have to find someone over Zoom, but what if I really want to be in person? And so then I literally have the conversation with myself of how badly do I feel like I need to go to
Right.
therapy? So then I'm putting my own mental health and wellness on the back burner because I don't have that accessibility within my local area because people are busy. And so I applaud you for what you've done because it is so critical to provide just the baseline accessibility is huge. I think the
Yeah.
second
And
big
you're,
piece of that for companies and owners is instilling a culture within their teams that your mental health is a priority, and we want you to know that it matters to us, and we will do what we can to make sure that you feel supported any day wherever you are.
Yep. Yep. No, I totally agree. And what I was going to say, and thanks so much for sharing that, is that you're not alone, right? So many people go through that experience. I actually had a friend reach out to me today asking, and it's a friend who's a founder and CEO of their business, saying, "Hey, I've decided I need to get support from a therapist. Like, where do I start?" And it's really difficult if you're navigating this on your own, especially because you're likely already going through a stressful time in your life when you are finally taking the step to reach out and get support. And so that really is part of our solution, is how do we make it super accessible, super easy, let people get connected. So we commit when we partner with companies that employees can get connected and actually have a session with a coach or therapist within one business day, which is something that we're really proud of.
Amazing. That's incredible.
Related to that, I know you brought up the importance of personalized healthcare solutions a little bit earlier, and I was wondering what Modern Health solution is to this. I know you say you work with the employers and employees, but how do you determine which solutions would work best for specific companies and their employees?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we offer a wide array of solutions all through the platform, and so that's offered whenever we partner with an employer. All of their employees get access to all of those solutions. Now, the way in which an employee gets connected to the appropriate solution actually happens during our onboarding. So the way that it works is when you get access to Modern Health, you download this app, you take a clinically validated assessment that our team has built, basically saying, okay, one, where does your mental health fall on that spectrum from green to yellow to red, but also what's important to you, what's going on in your life that you're looking to get support on. So let's say, for example, let's just use it because it's top of mind for me as a new parent, but let's say that you're a new parent. We'll connect you to either a coach or a therapist who specializes in that, or resources that are relevant to that, so it feels personalized, right? You're not just getting sent to, let's say, a career development program if that's not top of mind for you. So we make sure that we create this personalized experience through the onboarding process, taking input from the member when they're going through that, and making sure that we ultimately create almost like a personalized mental health care plan for each individual.
That's so critical to do. The amount of times that people find, even just doctors, physicians for anything, Sometimes they feel like they're just not the right fit,
Yeah.
even if they are specifically focused on new parents. So to
Right.
have the ability to say, I'm just not driving with this person, and these are the reasons why, or maybe I'm not able to articulate why, but then to have an opportunity to then go and reconnect with someone else who still is specific to that vertical that you're looking for support in
Yep.
is another barrier for people, that I've had so many friends say, I didn't really like this therapist. I felt like they didn't really understand me. So I stopped going. And I'm
Right.
like, no,
Yeah.
you got to
That
keep going.
that's kind of another, yeah, that's another key piece, is like, how do you get people connected to someone who's a good fit for them? And so
Mhm.
this is hard. This is a work in progress, because someone who's a great fit for you might be not such a great fit for someone else. And so what we do is we gather a ton of data on our providers, and after every session we have employees can basically give feedback and rate their providers. So have we have over a 4.5 out of 5-star rating. It's similar to like when you use an Uber or Lyft, like you can rate them and give feedback there. But that's one of the ways in which we ultimately get that feedback from members, and then that goes into the algorithm of how we're matching people to certain providers. But it's not perfect. Like it never, you constantly need to get that feedback and get more information to improve the matching algorithm.
Mhm.
For you personally, what has been the most rewarding part of being the founder and CEO of Modern Health? And going off of that, where do you see the future of mental health care going, and how do you think Modern Health is trailblazing?
Oh, that's a good question. What has been the most rewarding part of being founder CEO? I mean, the obvious easy answer is, the impact that we've had on millions of lives. So, our product is now touching millions of lives all across the world, and just seeing the stories. I had someone reach out to me, and like this is like one of the coolest parts of my job. But like someone reached out to me on LinkedIn the other day, who said, "Hey, I'm an employee. I work at X company. I was a veteran before. I'm a veteran. I've never before working for this company had access to mental health resources. I've struggled with PTSD. I've needed support, and I've never been able to get it. Like, I'm so thankful for having access to a therapist through your offering." And so like getting those messages, you really just like, you take a step back, and it's so motivating and so inspiring, because you're like, wow, we're really helping people um, during such an important time in their life. And so that's kind of the I'd say like the most motivating and inspiring aspect. But really the best part of my job is the team. Like, I feel so lucky that the people who work at Modern Health, I literally look around and I'm like, how did I get these people to join this company? Like, these people are incredible. Like, and I always say, like, I feel so lucky to be part of the team, and truly, like, at every level of the company, and with my executive team, like, they're all 1,000 times smarter and better at their jobs than I would ever be at their jobs. But I honestly, like, I learned so much from them, and I'm so inspired and just like proud of how hard the team works to make a positive impact in the world. And that's like by far the best part of my job, is the people I get to work with and just feel like truly inspired and motivated by every single day. And honestly, like, in awe, and just like also in shock that these people have joined the company, and joined, in the early days when they did. Like, that's definitely one of the best parts of my job. And I think the back half of your question was around um, where do we see the future of mental health going? I would not have said this like a couple weeks ago, but I was at a dinner with some investors and a bunch of reporters earlier this week. And of course, everyone is talking about AI and the big AI craze. And it's hard to not imagine a world where, you can get support from an AI driven therapist or coach. And it's, the world where and that we live in, or that we play in today, we work with companies, right? We work with employers. So technology has to be pretty far along in order for employers to say, okay, I'm going to pay for this and roll it out to my employees. And it really needs to be proven and show outcomes. But I really think that, in our lifetimes, maybe it's not going to be in the next year or so, but in our lifetimes, like, there is a world where, to truly democratize access to mental health, we're going to need to rely on AI driven, conversational coaches and therapists. How efficient would that be if there's already a shortage of therapists globally, and the majority of therapists are in the kind of age where they're in the like time frame horizon of retiring in the next 10 to 15 years, which means we're going to even have more of a shortage for a variety of reasons. People are not going into the field of becoming a therapist. There's a lot of stress associated with it. It's very difficult. And so It's expensive to get the training and the education. And so it's pretty amazing to think about a world in which we could tap into. We could basically like infinitely scale people getting access and the support that they need through really like a bot driven coach or therapist. I have to believe that at some point in our lives, like that will become real, that will be the world that we're living in. And I think that there's a lot of obviously benefits to that, to the extent that it works and it's evidence-based and it drives outcomes. Like how amazing is that people all around the world can get support in a much more cost-effective and much more accessible way than we had ever even imagined. And so this is something that we're, the way in which we're trailblazing it, we're not quite offering something like that yet, but it's something we're talking about, we're focused on internally, is really how can we leverage technology and all of the new, all of the recent progress and developments with AI to democratize access to mental health in a way that's much more scalable, much more cost effective, and drives the same, if not better outcomes than talking to a human.
My brain just melted a tiny bit when you said that.
Same here.
I was just like staring blankly at my camera, like, oh my God. A, terrifying. B, brilliant. C, sooner than I think we all think. D, may already be underway and just not talked about.
Yeah.
And it is fascinating because when you talk about efficiency and accessibility and speed, I mean, what better way to do that than something that has been programmed to do that?
Right.
And it is again, I keep going back to the accessibility piece. It's such a barrier to entry for people to feel like someone doesn't fit their vibe, or B, they don't personally have the time to physically drive somewhere, or C, someone that they want to talk to isn't available for 2 years.
And I think the biggest thing right now is people historically haven't trusted chatbots, right? They're like, okay, I'm talking to this chatbot. Like, do I really trust what this thing is saying?
Yeah.
Or like, if I'm having suicidal ideation, this is obviously not a safe and reliable resource. Like, I need to get support from a trained, clinician. But the way, like, how quickly technology is advancing in the AI space, I mean, and the access and like the depths of information that's now provided, there's an argument where, for one, it could certainly be like a triaging where it's like, okay, let's do the intake, see if there's a clinical diagnosis and then route to the right person, or solve through some sort of AI driven coach or therapist that's like maybe subclinical. But the technology is getting so advanced that like the open source platforms out there have more information and are in real time than any therapist or clinician on planet Earth has in their head. So another way in which it could be really interesting is the clinicians could leverage these open source platforms to better diagnose, better get resources for, okay, what's the best way to treat this person. But I really do think it's going to be life-changing for all of us, and hopefully is a step in the right direction for making mental health support more accessible.
I hope I live to see that day. That is incredible.
And then I think on the other side, like just I guess that's kind of like, feels like the far out future, but like maybe the more near term future. I think for us, what we're seeing is just mental health becoming a priority on the employer level, right? It's crazy to think about, but like not that long ago, employers did not prioritize mental health for their employees. They offered these low utilized EAP programs that did not have a great member experience, that, that saw like 1% utilization. People didn't use them. And I think the pandemic was really the catalyst, because it was this thing that happened globally that impacted everyone, got everyone talking about the impact it was having on their mental health, right? Because for a while, people were literally stuck at home, struggling with loss of loved ones, the fear of getting sick. Like it's crazy to think about, like, now it's been years since the pandemic first started. But that really started the conversation around, okay, there's this thing that's impacting everyone. And because it impacts everyone, it really takes away the stigma from talking about, hey, I'm struggling with mental health. Like, of course, this is this global thing that's impacting everyone. And so I think that was really the catalyst for getting people to talk about mental health and really remove the stigma. And that was a forcing function for employers to say, okay, wow, my employees, they're being very vocal. They're coming to me. They're coming to their people teams. They're saying, hey, I'm struggling and I'm trying to get connected to a therapist through my health insurance and it's impossible. There's a 6-month waiting list. Or I tried to use our employee assistance program and I couldn't get connected to anyone. Like, what do you have for me? And so that has really forced employers in a positive way where they're saying, okay, I need to make an investment in my people. And in order for my business to be successful, I need to invest in the mental health of my people. And that, I think, over the next 2 years is really going to just become a standard offering of all employers to invest in the mental health solution for their employees.
I think of it in a similar vein to diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm very good friends with the COO of DEI Directive, which they've essentially built a software that helps track, measure, and report out on DEI within an organization, initiatives, growth, areas for opportunity. And you still have a lot of companies that are like, well, we donated to that thing that one time. We did it, we're supportive. In the same way, like, oh, it's May, we'll put up 2 social posts.
Right.
Mental health, go us. And so there are still a lot of employers who may not have fully invested in themselves to get their business on board to make mental health a priority. I'm also very optimistic. There are a lot of companies coming to fruition, being born, or younger companies that might be evolving, as well as some more progressive older companies who are willing to make that investment in themselves, in their business, in their employees, because they recognize if I have a happy team, I'll probably have a productive team, which probably means that my business will do well. So if they really want to break it down to ROI, by investing in your people, you're investing in your business.
Yep, totally. And that's often what we're telling employers, right? When we go out and show them the data, we're saying, hey, not only are you improving productivity, you're also driving retention, right? Employees are more likely to stay at a company if they're in a better mind place, having a good experience. And so there's a lot of data and research to back up that investing, it's worth it. The ROI is there, that investing in your people ultimately is going to deliver to your bottom line.
And kind of jumping off of that productivity and how it interacts with mental health, I'm wondering how you, Alyson, stay present on a daily basis, and what is the importance of staying present and thus productive, and how does this interact with work-life balance? We actually talked about this a little bit during our last podcast episode when we were talking about stress relief, but I'd love to hear your take on it.
Oh, feels impossible right now, but
you must. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, let's see. So I'm a big fan of meditation. I have not been great this week, but typically I meditate every single day. I usually do it right when I wake up, which definitely gotten harder having a baby, needing to, go feed him at whatever odd hours in the morning. But that's been like a huge game changer for me. I feel like the days that I do meditate makes a big difference in just how present I am, my stress levels, my anxiety. Like, I'm just able to think much more clearly. I think also just prioritizing, like, it's kind of like back to the basics, like getting good sleep, eating well. I use Whoop is like a sleep tracker and a workout tracker that I use. And it's funny, kind of almost gamifies the experience for me, which as a competitive former athlete motivates me to get in bed earlier. But it really is super helpful. Like, I see my sleep score and I'm like, oh, okay, I got a crappy sleep score. I went to bed super late last night. Like, I need to get to bed earlier. Eating well when I can. Honestly, it feels like kind of the basics, but they can make such a big difference in your life. And I just think also finding time to disconnect from technology. I feel like it's gotten to the point where, and this is one of the challenges of running a business, is you feel you never can really turn off, right? You're always on. You always feel like you have to be moving the ball forward. You always have to be focused on getting to that next milestone. There's never just like, I can completely disconnect. And so one of the ways that I do that is by like leaving my phone outside the bedroom. So when I go to bed, it's like, okay, I'll read for a little bit, unwind, and not just be like staring at my phone right before I go to bed, which I used to do. And then I would impact my sleep, and then I would wake up tired, and then it's like started this whole vicious cycle. But I think just really finding time to disconnect, or like with my husband, Matt, we'll say, okay, let's go for a walk and like leave our phones at home. And that's like, it's funny. We used to just like take for granted the ability to like go for a quick walk. And now it's like, okay, the nanny's here. Like, let's go for a walk. Let's get out of the house quickly. Yeah. And it's really nice, like, just to have that time away from technology to like almost let your brain rest and just be present with what's going on around you and how you're feeling, as opposed to just always like checking email and thinking about having to get to the next thing or the next to-do list or the next meeting you have. And I feel like we're constantly operating in this like rat race, which inherently is going to create so much stress and anxiety for all of us. So I think for me, it's just like slowing down whenever I can, because I'm definitely someone who likes to run, a million miles an hour.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Allison. The back to basics, I think, has to be repeated for everyone to hear that again.
Yeah.
I'll give a good example of the rat race before I get into that. But at a previous job, I remember on two different occasions, someone being applauded for the fact that they worked until 9 p.m., 5 days straight in the office. Applauded.
Yeah.
And like in front of a large group of people in a public area within our office. And I remember thinking to myself, like, what a just toxic, horrific way to show your employees what being productive and working hard means. Because working long doesn't necessarily mean working hard.
Right.
Is there a reason things are taking you so long? Do you have too much on your plate that shouldn't be on your plate?
Yeah.
What are you doing within their normal business hours? So I think, unfortunately, in the United States, there is still this stigma of just grind it out, work all the time, get it done. You're home, you're back online, you just got to keep going, go, go, go. And I tell my team almost weekly, we are not heart surgeons. There's no heart in the cooler. Therefore, unless someone is physically bleeding out in front of you, you are not responding if it's outside of your work hours. So just to kind of address the rat race, I think, unfortunately, that is still a pandemic that we all need to work to overcome, especially as the responsibility of business owners like us. The other side of it that I love that you brought up is basics. I can't tell you the number of friends and colleagues I've spoken with, and I love to meditate. I love to work out. I love to go for walks. For me, I use those times to disconnect, but I am present enough to say, this is my disconnect time, and this makes me feel good.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes people, even like doing the dishes or folding laundry, sometimes I see that as a chore, but then sometimes I choose to see it as, I'm going to put my phone away and I'm going to focus on this task with my hands. And I'm just going to try to think through things that I have going on. In a way, it's kind of like a form of meditation.
Right.
So my encouragement to my friends and colleagues is, rather than having to try to find the time to fit meditation into your already busy schedule, that just then makes it feel like just one more thing you have to do, maybe lay out all the things that you do during the day and see which of those you could maybe reposition your mindset around to say, like, this is my time for me right now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. It's funny. I taught yoga when I lived in San Francisco. And when I started Modern Health, it was like the thing that I was like, I need to keep doing this. So I kept teaching. I taught for about 5 years, and I had this like Monday night class that it was awesome. It was like all my friends came and almost became this like following, this group that would come. There's 50 people in my class. They would come every single Monday. It was so fun. And I would do the class. Part of it was like, okay, I only have 1 hour a day to like, I'm teaching, and it's my hour to get my workout in. So I would like do the class while I was teaching it. And you'd think that would have you like your brain in like a pretzel and like probably overwhelmed and stressed out. But I would feel so zen at the end of class, because all I could do during that class was think about like exactly what I was doing. Because if I started to think about my to-do list or literally anything else, I would fall in my head. So I would be like, doing the, breath works, inhale, lift your arm, lift your leg. Like as I'm doing that, I was doing it with the class. And so I literally could not think of like, oh shoot, tomorrow I got to do this. Cause it's like I was talking and doing it at the same time. But it was funny how doing that was so relaxing. And I think what it means is it was so relaxing to just like be completely present. And so rarely are we just completely present with what we're doing, whether it's like literally saying out loud the way in which we're moving our body or moving our bodies and like focused on what we're doing. But it was just, it was like, I loved teaching this class. Even if it was like after a long stressful day at work, I would like still go teach this class, because it actually was like the 1 hour in the entire week where I was more present than any other time.
I totally get that. And I think it is an undervalued thing by a lot of people. A lot of women, I would say, as well, as a lot of high achieving women that want to accomplish everything and are still trying to, unfortunately, in some instances, prove themselves to others, which is should be a separate podcast. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Um, but I hope that anyone watching really takes that away, is that it doesn't have to be as complicated as it might seem. If you're totally new to meditation, that's okay, because meditation comes in a lot of different forms. It doesn't have to be laying down flat on your back in a room that smells like eucalyptus, stretching your
Pretty
hamstrings.
nice doing it there, though.
First of all, I love that shit. But like, if it's not for you, like, do your thing, figure out where you can be present, Side note, there's an amazing bath bomb that I discovered at a Founder Made event in New York City last summer, where you put it at the base of your shower, and as the water, and it's totally biodegradable, and as the water hits the floor of your shower, it releases the scent, and they have an apple champagne, a eucalyptus. I got to remember the name of it. Maybe I'll tag them in the coffee.
Yeah, that sounds great. I need that.
So I'm wondering if you have any recommendations for anyone who's trying to become more informed or proactive about their mental health if they don't necessarily know where to start.
I think the first thing is just don't be afraid to ask for help, like speak up, and don't wait, right? We tend to live in a society where we wait till things get really bad. Like, why wait till we feel unhealthy to say, okay, I want to start eating healthy? Why wait until we have a root canal to say, okay, I'm going to start taking care of my teeth? Proactively take care of your mental health. And if you do feel like you are struggling, like, don't be afraid to ask for help. We all struggle in some way. You're not alone. And I think it's also surrounding yourself with people who kind of have these virtues and believe that it's important to take care of your mental health, and prioritize your own well-being. I think to Rachel's point, like, you don't want to be around people who are having that toxicity of, okay, you need to be like grinding yourself and be miserable in order to be successful. Like, that's just not true. We really need to break out of that vicious cycle and break out of that mold. And then I think, what can you do to take matters into your own hands? Like, there's a ton of resources out there. There's self-help books. There's publicly accessible meditations that will really help introduce you to these practices. We offer community-led circles, which are available to the public. They're basically like group therapy sessions on certain topics. And so I think kind of going through different ways in which you can reach out and get help, but also leverage the resources around you, I think would be a good place to start.
I'd also add, it's something I wish I had at even a collegiate level. Mental health never occurred to me in college. I just was going through the motions. I was on a linear path. Everything was transactional. Just do this, then this, and finish this, and you get your degree, and then you get a job. It was just, I was on this path that was predetermined for me. And at no point was mental health a piece of that pathway ever, until it got to that point that I was at an agency and I was like, wow, I'm mad at everyone all the time, including myself. And, and so it got to that point. And a big piece of that is I don't think I even knew that I needed to ask for help, because I didn't know that I needed help, because it was never a part of the conversation. I have had such an amazing upbringing and such incredibly supportive parents, but mental health was not something we openly discussed. So, for any employers, managers, HR people watching this podcast, I'm sure you have interns that come in that are in college. Make sure that they know that mental health is a priority to your organization. Just starting small and, and using our power and taking that responsibility to educate the younger generations, so that hopefully in the future, as they then become a part of the workforce, a business owner themselves, a partner in something, they will take what they've learned from you and then instill that into their future culture.
And that will help pave the way for a better environment in the workplace for future generations. I mean, it's really scary when you look at the statistics of mental health and depression rates and suicide rates skyrocketing for children. Like, it's really, really terrifying. And so majority of people spend majority of their lives, which is really sad and scary to think about, at work. And so the workplace can play such a big role in shaping how we all show up and how we all take care of our own mental health.
And I guess just to wrap up this very informative chat that we've been having, are there any updates or upcoming events that Modern Health is excited about? And we'd love to hear a little bit more about anything you guys have going on.
Well, we're super excited. I think I might have mentioned earlier, we're super excited about our partnership with Naomi Osaka.
Right.
She's joined us as our chief community health advocate, and she's really helped driving awareness within the community. Right, she's got this amazing voice associated with her that she's able to be authentic and vulnerable, and people really support and believe in her. And so we just launched children's meditations with her, which we're super excited about, especially given what we were just saying, that the mental health of kids right now is skyrocketing to a point where it's really scary, and we really need to do something about it. We're hoping we can take a step in that direction by offering meditation to children. And so super excited about the new meditations that we've just launched with her. And I think that to broaden that out, just like what can we better be doing to support kids who are now exposed to the wraths of social media and being addicted to technology at a much younger age than any of us ever thought was even remotely possible. And so I think just any which way that we can proactively support our employees, our employers' employees' kids, is definitely top of mind for us right now.
We could do a whole nother podcast
Yeah.
on technology and how the maturation age has dropped because of technology. And I mean, there's a lot of parodies about it. Like you've got like girls in 8th grade now, and it's like me in 8th grade, and it's like bowl cut braces, like covered in acne and a sweater, because
Yeah.
that's like being gentle. But on a serious note, like it is terrifying, and I can't imagine being that age right now. Even at my age, 32, I still struggle. Imposter syndrome, especially as a business owner, is something I constantly am battling, comparing myself to other women, other men at my age or just above doing the same or similar things. So I can only imagine what that's like for someone at a much younger age who hasn't had that time to go through maturing experiences, gaining perspective. So I think that's incredible that you guys are launching meditation for children and helping to encourage parents. It starts in your homes. Parents, guardians, mentors. Hey, listen, even as I mentioned to employers, if you're watching this and you have college or high school apprenticeships, interns, talk to them. How was your experience here? Did you feel supported? There's no better way to know how you're doing than to ask the people around you. Do you feel like I support you? Do you feel like I care about your mental health? Even if you aren't able to go into getting a full, supportive partner and software and getting all these things, if you're a small scale business and you're like, oh, we're just not big enough for that, that's certainly no excuse to not reach out and talk to people within your organization and check in and see how they're doing.
Couldn't agree more.
Alyson, thank you so much.
Yeah.
This is incredible. It's a very important month. I hope anyone that's watching, please check out Modern Health, see all the incredible work that they're doing. Stay in touch with Alyson. She's on LinkedIn, as am I. We really appreciate everyone coming to mill around with us on the podcast. We will be back again in a few weeks with our second installment of Mental Health Awareness Month. Alyson, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks so much
Thank
for
you,
having me. Thanks for
Alyson.
the great conversation.